All right, I think we are recording now. And it is 9 o'clock, so I will go ahead and get us started. Thank you all for joining us for the Mentor webinar, session 40. I'm Amanda Charlesworth, program specialist at the State Board of Education with the Youth and Care team. This will be our agenda this morning. Welcome and thank you for joining us. I will go ahead and do a mindfulness moment for us and introduce our presenters, and then I'll turn time over to them to share their expertise with you. All right, so our mindfulness moment this morning, I have a video to share, partly because I'm sure you can hear still in my voice that the spring allergies are still taking a toll on me, but also because I thought this video was a really nice reminder that mindfulness can empower us to choose positive over negative. And I liked it just as a quick reminder sending us into summer. So let's view that now.
There's a story, usually attributed to the Native American tradition, which illuminates different ways of paying attention. An elder, talking to a child, says, "I have two wolves fighting in my heart. One wolf is fearful, vengeful, envious, resentful, and deceitful. The other wolf is compassionate, loving, generous, truthful, and peaceful." The child asks, "Which wolf will win the fight?" The elder responds, "The one I feed." That doesn't mean we try to deny or hurt or kill the angry wolf. If we did that, we'd end up in a long battle, all the while somehow making that wolf more powerful through our hostility and fear. Hating that wolf sucks the strength right out of us. Instead, we calmly pay attention to the angry wolf and let go of believing they have the answers. If we can do that, they end up lying down next to us, no longer an enemy. We help strengthen the kind and loving wolf, giving it nourishment and support so that we can follow it. That peaceful wolf can become our steady companion and show us the way through all kinds of different life experiences. Restful or chaotic, enjoyable or disappointing experiences may come and go, but we can have a guide with us through it all. This is what mindfulness can help you do. Mindfulness allows us to see our thoughts and feelings as they are beginning. It's very powerful to know what we're feeling as we're feeling it, know what we're thinking as we're thinking it. With mindfulness, we can choose what will strengthen and bring into action, and we can choose what we will gently let go of. We don't have to be at the mercy of old habits or old ways of thinking or old ways of being. We are empowered. It just takes practice.
All right, so with that quick reminder and mindfulness, let's move into introduce. Oh, and the video wants to go again. Sorry. There we go. All right, so first we will hear from Clarissa Stebbing. And Clarissa is a prevention specialist for the State Board of Education, where her work is primarily focused on substance use prevention and trauma-informed practices. Prior to joining USBE, she spent 11 years working at a nonprofit organization where she coordinated community and school-based mentoring programs. She also has experience working at a substance use disorder treatment center for adolescents and is a certified health education specialist. Her passion for health and wellness led her to graduate school at the University of Utah, where she received her MS in health promotion and education. Clarissa loves traveling, hiking, yoga, and going out to eat with her family and friends. All right, after Clarissa, we will hear from Garrett Russell. Garrett is an absenteeism prevention specialist here at the State Board of Education. In addition, he has owned and operated a stand-up paddleboard business on Lake Superior for 13 years. Garrett created an experiential curriculum for youth and adjudicated youth and youth camps. In addition, he has worked as a 4th and 5th grade teacher. In education, he has worked as a 4th and 5th grade teacher, behavior coach, and attendance specialist, as well as an adventure coordinator where he created outdoor trips tied to science and social studies curriculum. As an adventure coordinator, he took 6th grade students to Yellowstone, 7th grade students to Capitol, and 8th grade students to Dinosaur Monument. And the fact that he's still standing is a testament to me. Anyway, Garrett also utilized the outdoors to connect with students who are, who are having behavioral challenges in the classroom to build trust, relationships, and regulation skills to re-engage in their learning. I know I'm excited to hear from both Garrett and Clarissa this morning, as relationship building seems to be a conversation we're always eager to learn more about. So let me stop my screen share and turn it over to Clarissa.
Thanks, Amanda. And Garrett, adventure coordinator, that sounds so fun. I don't think I'd want to change jobs after that. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Can you see that okay? Okay, great. Thanks for the thumbs up. All right. Well, I am happy to be here this morning. It's been a while since I've attended one of these webinars, so glad to be here and glad to put on my mentoring hat. As Amanda said, I was once a mentoring coordinator at a nonprofit organization, and so worked with lots of volunteer mentors and learned about a lot of the challenges associated with that. And I was previously a mentor myself. So it's nice to be able to kind of switch gears a little bit away from substance use prevention, although mentoring is substance use prevention. So glad to be here. To start off, one thing I just did want to mention is I'm sure that you're all at different stages as far as being a mentor. Some of you may be very new, some of you may have been doing this a very long time. And so there may be tips that I share with you that you already know, you have it in the bag. There might be something new, and I again know that a lot of you have various levels of expertise, and so I do hope that you share your experience and your expertise today as well. We will have a couple of opportunities to engage with each other and to learn from one another, and so I hope you are willing to share your experience, your thoughts, and your ideas, because all of you have so much to share, and we have so much to learn from each other. So I wanted to start off with this concept of school connectedness before jumping into the mentoring relationships tips and so forth. And the reason for that is because I always like to start with the why. Why are we doing what it is that we're doing? And this concept of school connectedness for me is one of my whys. And it's very much connected with this, with mentoring. And it is mentoring is one avenue in which students can get that sense of school connectedness. So what is school connectedness? School connectedness is the belief by students that the peers and the adults in their school support, value, and care about their individual well-being as well as their academic progress. So it's not just the focus on the academic progress, which is important, but it's also the student knows that, hey, they care about me as an individual, as a person, they care about my well-being, and it's not all about grades, it's not all about attendance, but they do care about who I am as a person. And this concept of school connectedness is very important. There's a lot of benefits associated with it that we know through research. So we know that there are benefits related to educational outcomes. There are also benefits related to health outcomes, which are very important in each individual. So the educational outcomes, that academic well-being piece, is that students are more likely to have higher grades. They're more likely to have higher test scores, to have better school attendance, and to graduate high school when they have that sense of school connectedness. There's also health outcomes associated with it, you know, their well-being outcomes. Students are less likely to engage in risky behaviors such as substance use or gang activity. They're more likely to engage in positive health behaviors, things that will actively improve their health and maintain their health. They're also, especially this is, the research shows this amongst adolescents is that they're less likely to experience emotional distress and have thoughts of suicide. So again, so many benefits associated with school connectedness. And Carolyn, thank you. I love your comment that this is extremely important that all children feel this within their schools, that there are people who check on them and care about their success. Agreed. If we could have every single student experience this, that's just, I think that's what we should be aiming for. So the CDC has 4 main ways in which we can increase that sense of school connectedness. And the box in green, that's what we're going to be focusing on today, the adult support. But also I think it's worth noting that we can increase school connectedness by promoting positive peer group, by promoting that commitment to education, and promoting a really positive school environment. So adult support, this is what you all are doing as mentors. You're intentionally dedicating time, interest, attention, and emotional support. And students, it's important to remember, I think, that students are more likely to engage in school and learning when they feel that support. All right, so I want to jump in now to mentoring, and specifically want to talk about this relationship formation stage. In this stage, there's a number of different things that might take place, and depending on who it is that you're working with. And I believe a number of you are working with a number of students. And so with each student that you're working with, you might see things are a little bit different depending on the student and their past experiences and what they're bringing to the relationship and kind of how they're showing up. But some of the common traits that show up during that initial formation stage within the first few months is that it is a trust building stage. And in this phase, particularly if your mentee, the student that you're working with, has experienced disappointing relationship with other adults, then you're really going to need to focus on that trust building stage, and they might be testing you. Again, if they've experienced disappointing relationship with other adults, they're going to bring that into this relationship, and it has nothing to do with you. It's just their experience and their way to protect themselves. And so there might be a period of testing. There might be where they're just wondering, what is this person's intentions? Why are they interested in me? Why are they checking in on me? They want to know what you want from the relationship, and also whether or not you're going to hold up your end of the bargain. Will this adult follow through on their promises? And that part is really key, is to show them, yeah, I'm going to follow through. I'm going to be consistent. There are going to be ups and downs. Expect that in that relationship building stage. Expect that throughout the whole relationship, the ups and the downs. But the important thing is to always be consistent, always fall back on the consistency. If you had a bad day, things didn't go well during one meeting last week, well, let's start fresh this next week, and just be consistent. During this stage, I think it's really important to introduce yourself to students and families, and you may already have this practice in place where you're introducing, okay, what is my role as a mentor? Sharing that. You can do that through an email, a letter, short video. Of course, you're going to be doing that in person with the student when you actually meet with them. But by sending a kind of a formal introduction, that can help with building trust and help them in getting to know who you are. So I recommend sharing some things about you things that maybe make you interesting, that share what your interests are, what your hobbies are, share a few things that you like about the work that you do, your job, and maybe share a few things related to what the student and family can expect for the coming year. In addition to that, I really wanted to talk a little bit about this concept of establish, maintain, restore. So this is a research-based system for building healthy student-teacher relationships that's been found to be effective in schools through research, but I think it definitely translates into mentoring relationships as well. And so to kind of help categorize some of the tips, I'm using that establish, maintain, restore system or framework to kind of talk through some of those different tips. So the first one is establish. This is, again, relationship formation stage that I just kind of talked about. And this is another way to think about it, and some other tips to further establish that relationship. At the beginning, of course, these are things that I think can be used through the other stages of relationship as well. It doesn't, not just in the established stage, but banking time with students is really important to build that trust, to get to know the student, for them to get to know you. And that is done through the meetings that you have. Welcoming students is another great way to establish the relationships, of course, like call them by name. I think a lot of you are kind of doing the one-to-one mentoring relationship. If you're ever working in small groups, though, continuing to welcome each student by name, maybe at the door sharing an initial, some sort of icebreaker conversation. Hey, what'd you do this weekend? Hey, I know you love basketball. Did you play any basketball? Did you watch the game? Whatever. Icebreaker questions. There are tons of different get to know you questions on the internet, but let it be a conversation, not an interrogation, so that it feels really natural and just relationship building. And then, of course, using positive communication techniques, not just at the beginning where you're establishing that relationship, but throughout every stage, where you're using the open-ended questions and reflective listening, validation statements, expression of enthusiasm or interest, and compliments. And this might be a little bit of a review from your Check and Connect training. I'm pretty sure, as I recall, all of this is gone through, but I think it's helpful to have that refresher as well, that to always fall back on those positive communication techniques. And then as far as the maintenance stage, so you've established the relationship, you've banked times with the students, let's continue to maintain that relationship. And one way to do that is by taking note of your positive and negative interactions with students, and really aim for a 5-to-1 ratio. So for every one negative interaction or one corrective correction that you have to give the student, you've already banked 5 positive interactions. And so that one correction doesn't feel like you're out to get this. So the student doesn't feel like you're out to get them or anything like that. It's just like, oh, okay, I know we've had all of these other positive interactions. This is just a correction, and that's okay. And sometimes, again, going back to that relationship formation stage slide, there are going to be ups and downs. But if we've banked more ups, more positive interactions, more compliments, more validation, more listening, then those downs aren't so bad. Also regularly check in with the student, which that's what you do. Ask what they're doing, ask what kind of support that they need, and acknowledge their good behavior, celebrate their accomplishments, celebrate their strengths, point out their strengths. And now for the restoration stage, again, as mentioned earlier, we will all have ups and downs in our relationship. There may be a bad day. The student may have some challenging behaviors one day. But if we can give students a chance to start each day with a clean slate, then I had a thumbs up by my name. I'm not sure if I accidentally did that or not. But, so give them a chance to start each day with a clean slate. They may have had a bad day, but that doesn't have to be today. So that doesn't have to define their future. So let go and start fresh. Take responsibility for our own actions. Again, there are ups and downs. Maybe we made a mistake. Maybe there was one day when we didn't follow through with a promise that we had made. apologize for that, acknowledge that. We're humans, we make mistakes too as mentors. And so an apology can go a long way. Consider what to do to prevent the problem in the future. So if I made a mistake, okay, what am I going to do so that I don't do that again? Or if there's a challenge or some issue going on with the relationship, and it really seems to be like the kids' issue, the students' issue, well, what can I do? What can I prevent that? Really be strategic. What's in my control and my sphere of influence, rather than just putting all the responsibility on the student. Think about, okay, what can I do? What can we do to make this better? And so that this doesn't continue to be a problem. Showing empathy is big. Recognizing that students might have a different perspective on what happened when there was an issue. See if we can put our minds in their minds and think about, okay, what might they have been thinking in this situation? What might have led them to that reaction? And and that can be helpful in experiencing empathy and figuring out where they're coming from. Finding solutions and focusing on solutions rather than problems. If there is a problem, let's think about, okay, what's a solution here that feels fair for everyone, and just being strategic and intentional in that way. And then separating the deed from the doer, avoiding labeling students, such as problem students. Let's not label them. Let's allow them to start fresh. Remember, it's the behavior that we're concerned with, not the individual. The individual still has worth. It's the behavior that we're working on. Just a few other key points to look for: point out student strengths. A lot of our students may not know what their strengths are, and can be really helpful to point those out to them. And they might not even think about their strengths as actually being strengths. Maybe they think of strengths as talents, like, oh, I don't have any strengths if I can't play a musical instrument or if I can't play sports. But there are so many strengths out there. And so if we can point those out to them, that can be really helpful for them to be able to just continuously foster those strengths. Avoid judgment. Remember the student's absolute worth. When we can, let's give them choice. That can be really, really helpful and can really go a long way. As Amanda mentioned, a lot of my role is focused on trauma-informed practices, and choice is considered a trauma-informed practice. So a lot of times kids feel like they have no control in their lives. And so if we can give them some area of control, that can really be helpful in building up their confidence and their resiliency to be able to make choices within their life. Now, of course, you've got to put some parameters around choices at times, but if we can do that, let's do that. Ask questions and listen. So let's learn what their barriers are to getting to school, to doing well in class, to doing their homework, whatever it is. Let's learn what their interests are. Can we connect? Then once we know what their interests are and their motivations are, we help use that information to connect that to whatever goal they're working on. If it's getting to school more often, if it's turning in their homework, let's leverage that information to help them figure out a plan to achieve their goals. All right, so I've been talking a long time now, and as I mentioned earlier, I know a lot of you have a lot of expertise. You all have expertise. And so I want to get your feedback, and let's just talk a little bit about this student. So Jay is a quiet sophomore. He is not involved in any curricular activities at school, so we don't know a whole lot about his interests yet. He will occasionally turn in homework assignments and does not participate in class unless he's specifically called on. So how would you connect with Jay? Go ahead and take yourself off mute. Or I'll let you think about it for a moment. Take yourself off mute. If you feel you prefer to just write something in the chat, go ahead and write something in the chat. But I'd love to hear from you as well.
could ask him what he does like to do with his free time. He has a little free time.
Yeah, great, Jeff. I think that's great. Then that does help you get a sense of, okay, once you know what it is he's doing in his free time, then that gives you a starting point, somewhere to continue to springboard off of that. Kelsey says, continue checking on him and building that trust rapport. Yes, absolutely. That consistency piece. You're consistently meeting with Jay, and as you consistently meet with him and check in with him, then that will build trust and rapport through those meetings. Sometimes it takes a while, and sometimes, again, we don't know, depending on the student's past experience, their skills, it might take quite a while to build a connection. So if we can just be patient and consistent, then we'll get there. Other ideas?
And we need to be able to know what possibility he have to come after school, because some of our kids, youth and care especially, cannot come after school. So we need to know that part so we can provide any other activities while at the school without missing classes and things like that. You know, like I give them curriculum classes that can be like theater or on any other thing that interests the student, right? But we need to be sure that we know the whole schedule for him during the day, because most of our students, they cannot use computer, they cannot go to the school after school. I'm sorry, go to the school after school. You know, we need to know exactly how because some of our students, they can be very interested on join, and they want to do music, they want to do something that require them to come after school, and that is the problem on that. So we need to know very.
Absolutely. So you're looking at, okay, are there any barriers? Is there a reason behind the reason why Jay is not participating in any extracurricular activity? Because he's got to take care of, he's got to go home and babysit, or he has a job, or there could be a lot of different factors. Maybe he doesn't have a ride. So he's got to take the bus, and maybe there's not a later bus. And so yeah, learning what it is that he's doing after school, or what's going on, what those potential barriers are, can help you again address those barriers and see, okay, can we get him involved in something else during the school day if after school is not an option. Thank you. Carolyn, it looks like you added, some children do not want to be noticed. They have a hard time being social and trusting others. What are his likes, and ask questions, build a relationship with interacting. Yeah, absolutely. There are some kids who'd rather just kind of, they don't want a lot of attention, and they do have, and they're, and I would argue that like we are social creatures, and we like, so maybe like the group setting, very uncomfortable, but the one-to-one, once that trust is established, he would actually really like that, or some kids would actually really like that. But yeah, understanding what his likes are and asking questions for sure. Provide teachers with information on the child so they know how to help and support them, getting them to feel a part of the activity. That's great. As a mentor, like if we can, as mentors, if we can really collaborate with our students' teachers as well, to information share in an appropriate way so that we can best support this student, and to help them feel like they are connected and involved. I think that absolutely. So Dave, so if he's avoiding, why is he not engaging? How do we help him create a culture of belonging, connection, and compliance? What are his reading and math levels? What is his history in terms of how it affects his expectations for success in the classroom? Great question. And these are great things for us to consider when we're trying to connect with a student or trying to figure out, okay, why aren't they really engaging in class? Does it have to do with them not feeling connected? Does it have to do with maybe he's just not understanding the work? Maybe he's so behind that's why he's not turning in his classwork or participating, because he's unsure, or so these are really great questions to ask and to yourself to reflect on, and sometimes it's asking the student as well. Again, more casually, not interrogating, can be really helpful. Carolyn, again, great resource, contact the school team and discuss supports available. Yeah, absolutely. I think that the more we can work together to support our students, the better, for sure. All right. So thank you. Great conversation, great tips, great things to think about in connecting with Jay. I want to talk a little bit about motivational interviewing. I talked about using good communication techniques. This is a method of communicating. I specifically wanted to talk about motivational interviewing for a couple of reasons. One is because a lot of times the students that we're working with there may be some behaviors that we're hoping to change or to shift. And also it's a great way to build and maintain a relationship. So, but motivational interviewing, it's an evidence-based way to discuss behavior change. It started out, I believe in the 80s, they started researching it with substance use disorder treatment, and found that those who were in treatment and whose practitioners took a motivational interviewing approach were more likely to be successful in their treatment. And this has since expanded to all types of behavior change, not just substance use disorder, and has been found to be effective. But as I said, there are skills used here, and there's a spirit of the motivational interviewing that can be very helpful in all relationships. So the spirit of motivational interviewing, this is kind of your mindset. This is where you're coming from as you're interacting with the students. And that is partnership, acceptance, compassion, and evocation. Those are the four main key points is when we're thinking about the spirit of motivational interviewing. So you're coming into this relationship with a spirit of partnership, where it's collaborative decision and it's collaborative discussion and shared decision making. So rather than going in thinking, okay, I'm the adult, I have the experience, I know what I'm doing, I'm going to tell you what's best. It's thinking, okay, we're going to be a partnership in this together. You as a student, you know you yourself best. And so we're going to work together because I have my experience and expertise and you have your experience and expertise, and we're going to be a partner in this. Acceptance is taking a non-judgmental approach that acknowledges the student's strengths, their inherent worth, their potential as a person, and at the same time respecting their autonomy and their freedom of choice as well. So sometimes we do need to accept that the students that we are working with are not making great choices, but we can use motivational skills to maybe help guide them in a more helpful direction. Carolyn, I just read your chat. Yeah, knowing that someone has your back and is providing positive interactions. Oh, that is so key. And that can go such a long way. Compassion. So this piece of compassion, this is your when you're thinking about the student's experience and what they might be going through, and you're also acting in the best interest of the person. You're prioritizing their growth and well-being in interactions. And then evocation. This is what this is it's a process of engaging the person in a respectful and a curious way that helps them find their own motivations and resources for taking action. So you're helping them, the questions that you ask, the skills that you use are eliciting the students to voice their own motivation for acting and their own resources and thoughts and plans on how they can make changes. So they're doing most of the talking and they're doing most of the thinking. You're just kind of help facilitating and guiding that. Some of the core skills used in motivational interviewing include open-ended questions, which we've already talked about that. Affirmations, so complimenting, statement of appreciations, all count as affirmations. Reflections. And summaries are very similar. Reflections are shorter statements that kind of offer an interpretation of what it is you heard the student say, whereas summaries are more of a longer reflection. So maybe you're highlighting important parts of the entire conversation, not just what they just said. And the thing that's helpful about reflections and summaries is that, one, it helps the student know that you're listening. Two, you're helping to clarify any misunderstanding. So if you heard something or interpreted it incorrectly, then the student can say, oh no, that's not what I meant. Then they can correct you. And three, it's helpful for the student to hear back what it is that you've heard, like an entire conversation. And sometimes light bulbs can go off when they can hear you stating what it is that they said. So maybe they expressed some ambivalence or some motivation one way or the other, and to actually hear you say what they said, it can help them be more likely to move forward towards their goals. Also, a fourth good reason is it can remind them of, okay, here's the action steps, here's what we're doing next, and this is what we talked about. Practice with a child to use their voice. Communication takes practice. Yes, Carolyn, this is so key. And I want to get into that right now, actually, that practice piece and that communication piece, because a number of the kids that we work with, or just people in general, really, some people don't have the skills for creating and maintaining friendships or relationships. And so if we can practice communication skills, we can practice those skills that are helpful in relationships, then that can really go a long way. Some of the students that we might be working with, it might not be that it's not that they don't have an interest in having a conversation with you. They might just not have the skills to have a conversation with you. And so if we can take the opportunity to teach students certain skills, such as communication skills, relationship building skills, conflict resolution skills, this can all go a long way in building and maintaining relationships, both within your mentoring relationship, as well as all other relationships that the student has throughout their life. And this can be, you can explicitly teach these skills at times where you're going to say, hey, let's talk about how you make friends. Let's talk about how you can ask somebody out on a date. Like, you can be very explicit, or you can say, okay, you can just kind of weave it into the conversation where, okay, this is a really good opportunity for me to point out this skill, or to teach this skill, or to practice this. As far as maintaining the relationship, I know a number of you are working with students right now that you're mentoring, and summer is coming up very quickly. And so I want to talk a little bit about staying connected during the summer. And there's a few different ways to do this. And I'm going to share out some suggestions, and then we will give you an opportunity to meet together in breakout rooms to share your thoughts as well. I do want to read Carolyn's comment here, that if a child experienced trauma and has never seen positive communication within their family, they do not have those skills yet. They may not be developed. Yes, absolutely. It is in no way the child's fault that they may not have communication skills yet. It may simply be, they may have not had the opportunity yet to see really great communication skills modeled, or to practice them yet. And so we can help them get there. All right, so summer contact ideas. I just want to make a note that just be certain, talk to your supervisor and get an understanding of what policies are related to summer contact. Are you allowed to keep in contact with your mentor, your mentee? This is likely to be different from school to school, situation to situation, might be different depending on whether you're off contract, on contract. And so just talk with your supervisor and make sure that you have the permission of school, parent, and student prior to keeping in contact during the summer. Now, if you have that permission, here are a few ideas. there's a few different levels of ways in which you could keep in contact. So one is you could become pen pals, where you could send postcards periodically, write a letter, send an email. You could have a book club where you decide you're going to read the same book, and you are either going to find an opportunity to talk about that book maybe through your writing. If you do home visits, you could just talk about that through your home visits. If you aren't keeping in contact through the summer, maybe you're just going to plan in advance. Okay, we're going to both read the same book, and then when we come back in August or September, we are at that time going to talk about the book together. And so that is one thing that you could do as well. If the student is going to summer school and it works out, you could stop by, say hi, and check in, see how they're doing, see what they've been up to other than summer school. There are a few ways to keep in contact with, or to at least stay connected without actual summer contact. So like I said, some of you may not be able to actually have contact during the summer, but you can stay connected. So one thing that you could do is in advance, you can talk about, hey, let's create a summertime capsule. I'm going to have a time capsule of the things that I did. I'm going to kind of collect that. Maybe I'll have a box, and I'm going to throw in things throughout the summer that remind me of my summer, and then I'll share it with you when we come back, and you do the same thing. So if I go for a hike, I can grab a cool rock from the trail, put it in my box. If I go to a concert and they actually still have the paper stub, I don't know if they still have those. It seems like they're all electronic. You can put that in there. So you could do that, or just journal, just write what it is that you're doing throughout the summer. Share some highlights, ask your mentee to do the same thing, share some highlights from the summer in your journal, or have your time capsule could be, hey, I'm taking photos of the things that I'm doing, and then I'll share those photos with my mentees when the school year starts up again, and ask the student to do the same thing as well if they have access to a camera or phone. You could also together in advance create a summer bucket list and then share your progress once the school year starts. So you decide together, okay, these are what is it that you want to do this summer? Write it down. What are some things you want to learn? What are some things you want to experience? How do you want to spend your time? And you would do the same thing, and then you compare your bucket lists, and then when the school year starts, you can say, hey, here's what I did, here's what I didn't do yet, but I still have next summer, next weekend or whatever to cross that off the list. Okay, so I want to hear from you. As I mentioned earlier, I know you all have really great ideas, and you've already shown me you have great ideas today. And so Amanda, are you able to put us into breakout rooms of 4 or 5-ish? And your task is to share what ideas that you have for staying connected throughout the summer. Or things you may want to do, ideas, maybe I shared an idea that you want to try out. Maybe you have already done certain ways of connecting in the past. You want to share that with the group, and then we'll meet back in 5 minutes.
Perfect. All right, and I would advocate that you pick someone to share out from your group while you're together. All right, those rooms should be open now, and you will see a little pop-up to join your room. Oh, sorry, hang on, let me try that again. I didn't do that just right. Let's see. All right. Okay, now hopefully you should see rooms that are slightly smaller groups that you can open or join. All right. No, somebody just joined us and I don't know who it was, but we have moved into breakout rooms for a few minutes. So on one of your screens, you all should see a little pop-up that says join breakout room. And you just need to click that to move into the room. And if you need help, you can come off mute because it looks like I can force you.
And I am invited to join a room, but I thought I'd stay out here so that they could just talk amongst themselves.
That is typically what I do, Clarissa. I was just making sure I actually set a timer for us.
Oh, great. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. I have learned because, I mean, time blindness is real. I'm going to grab a drink of water real quick. I'll be right back. So that was 4 minutes. I'll go ahead and close the rooms because it gives them the 1-minute warning.
All right, welcome back. Amanda, how many people did we have in this? Do we have everyone back, do you think?
It looks like we have one more group that's still having a conversation. So give them
Okay.
just another. Oh, and two. I lied.
Okay, perfect, thanks.
And we had 31 to answer your question.
Oh,
Sorry.
Okay, looks like we're back. All right, welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you had some productive conversation, shared some ideas that you can learn from one another. I'd love to hear from the groups. What are some of your takeaways? What are some of the ideas that you shared that you have for staying connected throughout the summer?
Hi, we'll go first.
Thanks, Caroline.
So one of the things, just making sure that if our mentors are participating, that it's cleared through the district, but also discussing the fact that I think it was a great idea to send cards home to all of our students just to say hi and hope they're having a great summer. Also, as well as sending out thank you notes to the caseworkers and those involved who was over the care for those kids, so they know that we are watching and we're here, and if they have any questions, things like that, but also maybe to send out something monthly to say hi, and I'll be here next year for when you come back and we'll meet. And if there's any needs or supplies, things like that, that we can connect and kind of stay in that safe area. My biggest is making sure it never goes into a gray area, because a lot of times if you get emails back and forth with the students, we just have to be very diligent about how we participate in those conversations. But I think it's a great way to foster moms saying or foster parents, same thing, sending out those thank you notes and saying, hey, if you need anything, I'm here. My emails, I'll be available by emails during the summer, things like that. So the kids still feel connected throughout the summer.
Great, thank you, Carolyn. You shared a lot of great ideas. Love the idea of the thank you note to the caseworker and the parents, as well as keeping in connection with the students. And yes, I'm glad that you discussed the gray area and avoiding that. We want to be above board on this, and we want to be absolutely in line with our school policies and procedures as well. So thank you for pointing that out as well. Yes, Amanda, commenting on the caseworkers idea as well, loving that. Other thoughts, suggestions?
We discussed reaching out to the kiddo before summer starts and finding out what their goals are, and then maybe doing like the printout of nearby resources that provide a list of like dates for this pool being open or this park being open or some sort of activities happening near them that they could attend. And then we had different experiences and situations. So some of them are off for the summer, and then some are going to help out at facilities, and at facilities, they don't do year-round education, and so they're off for the summer as well. So just keeping the kiddos busy and doing outdoor activities, skate park or the gym or playing soccer, things like that. But just communicating with the kiddos and finding out what they want to do and an attainable goal that they can reach.
Another
Love that. Go ahead.
another thing is I do send my note to the case worker so they know that we are leaving and we are going to be out for the summer. But I do too send emails because we are kind of like a 2.5 months out. So I do send once in a while during the month that we are out, email to the case worker just to know how the case is going, how the students are going. Previously, I don't know how this year is going to be, but previously we didn't have permission to policies, the Jordan district, to connect with the students, but I'm hoping for something change this year. But anyhow, another thing that I do with the foster parents too is that I communicate with them and let them know that we are leaving. But I gave them some list. Sometimes if you go to the libraries, website, you can get all the activities that Salt Lake City is going to have, or reading, any activity the summer, the library or even the city is offering for kids for free, I send lists to the foster parents, so they can know and try to, try to help the parents. Sometimes they don't know where the activities are, so that way probably my student can go. They can take them to those activities, because it's very important for me that they continue to be active. And that's my communication with foster parents and case workers during the summer.
Thank you. Yes, so I think that's a good workaround when you can't, because of the policies, you can't directly communicate with the students. But to show that you're connected, staying connected through the foster parents or the caseworker, I think that's helpful, as well as you showing that you care by sharing with the foster parents some activities that they can do throughout the summer. And I like that, both Kelsey and Juliet, your comments of sharing resources, community resources, free and low cost activities. That's great. Keep them having a good, fun-filled, productive summer. Lena, Salt Lake County is offering free rec classes for kids. Oh, great resource. Thanks for sharing that.
Clarissa, our group brought up something that I thought was really great. Is a couple of them talked about how they get invited to some things in the summertime, or they know of stuff that's coming up in the summertime. So like maybe a baby is being born, or there's an adoption or something along those lines. So maybe those special kind of moments that are coming up, and having, I don't know, either sending a note or making a visit or attend. Like somebody said they were invited to their student's adoption in the summertime, and that was, I thought, really cool.
Great, thank you. Yeah, those acknowledging and celebrating those special occasions. Great.
We talked about finding out what they're in.
I'm sorry. And be sure you send your birthday cards or birthday wishes to the kids that they are having birthday June, July, and summer, summertime.
Birthday cards, thank you. Melissa.
We just talked about finding out what their interests were, like movies or books, and then saying, I'm going to watch that and I'm going to tell you if I liked it or not, when we get back, and just having some kind of way to connect with them, especially when we get back, about, I watched that, I hated that, or I love that, or, thought that was funny.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a great idea. Showing your interest in their interests, to even explore it. And even if you find that you don't like it, to just say it's fun to know. I'm sure for the student that, oh, they cared enough to try it. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, you've shared some great ideas. Hopefully you received at least one new idea from the group today. I thank you for sharing. I know I certainly got a new idea or two, so from all of you. So thank you. I appreciate that. I just want to close on this, that every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. This is by Rita F. Pearson. She said this in a great TED Talk, but I want to thank you for being that champion for the students that you work with. You are an adult in their life who is championing them, and who knows that they have potential, and who is encouraging them to reach that potential. And so thank you, all of you, for the work that you do every day. It is meaningful, and it's impactful. So thank you. And here's my contact information. If you ever have questions, want to reach out, feel free to do so. Thanks for this opportunity, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Clarissa. Oh, yes, I definitely learned some new things today, and have some, motivation going into the summer instead of the summer loss. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, Garrett, are you ready, my friend?
Yeah, let me just get this shared.
All right, there we go.
Sweet. Well, thanks, Clarissa. You did great. Now I'm going to switch over and we're going to talk about using adventure to build relationships. I might use like exploration instead of adventure throughout. It's a similar concept. This is me in the summer. I do a lot of like kids programming and adventure camps, and we have a water dog. He's rad. I know in my last group we were talking about our animals, so here's mine. Connecting with kids helps build that relationship. All of these kids, this is their 4th or 5th year coming to us. We've written grants to bring these kids to our programming and allowed them to like come and explore, and then they bring their family and friends back just because they've had this shared experience that now they've like taken ownership of. So I'm going to share a few photos throughout of like kids that I've worked with in our summer. But because they've been able to build those skills, they aren't all expert paddlers, but they all have their own unique abilities and way that they explore finding out about themselves throughout like the waterways, or then we get to find out about them through like their goofy attributes that kids all have. It's pretty sweet. So I found this cool quote: adventure is not outside man, it is within. And that's kind of the most important part of using adventure or exploration to build the relationship. It doesn't always have to be this outside physical feat challenge. Sometimes it's building those inner skills within you and building your own resilience, self-efficacy, and trying to understand what the goal of this adventure or exploration is, and then utilizing that to build different skills and help somebody become a better person and stronger in the end after it. So this group of kids is another program that we had. We worked with them every week for 6 weeks throughout the summer. And at first, this group would not even get on the boards. We had to start at a different level. We had like the little balance balls that we utilize, kind of like the little half balls that you stand on and balance. So we started putting boards on that, and then other balance trainers before we could get them even to get on the water. They were afraid of the water, they were afraid of paddling. And so trying to come at it just like you would in a classroom setting and setting it up so that these kids can feel success leading up to your ultimate outcome, which is just for us getting them on the water, but understanding that all kids are coming from their own background, their own skill set, and their own comfort levels. And so not pushing them too fast to get to your outcome, and trying to provide them scaffolding so that they're able to get to the outcome that you want at their own timeline as well. And so building that throughout any adventure that you're utilizing with kids, understanding that you need to make them feel comfortable before you can push forward as well. So really quickly, we're going to start out with a breakout room. It's going to just be a quick 5 minutes. Again, pick somebody that can speak for your group. But in that breakout room, I just want you to talk about what is a new experience that you've had where you felt challenged. And this can be a meeting, this can be a hike, like whatever it is. It doesn't have to be an outside adventure. It can just be a new experience where you pushed yourself a little. Maybe you had to present and you're not a public speaker. Maybe you were going with somebody who is an expert biker and you were trying to keep, it doesn't really matter. But what is that new experience? And then how did it affect your mindset about yourself after that experience? We'll hop into those breakout rooms and then we'll come back, nominate a speaker to share some of those ideas that you had.
All right, Garrett, I was playing. Did you give us a time limit?
Like 5 minutes.
Okay, perfect. All right, those rooms should be open. And like before, you should see little pop-up, what do you call icons to join the rooms. And when the room closes, you have a minute before you have to come back. We'll give the other groups a minute to come back. The rooms will automatically close and force them in just a moment here.
Hello, Amanda.
Hello, my Canyons mentors.
We just thought we'd say hi. You're just in here all alone.
Are you in the fishbowl?
We are in the fishbowl, all three of us.
That's what I thought. Well, thank you for joining.
It's good to see you.
You too. It's been nice to see more people off or on camera today.
Do you know if we have everybody back in? I think we had 30.
Yeah, yep, we are good to go. Everybody's back.
Awesome. All right. So thank you guys for sharing in your groups. I know I really enjoyed talking with my group. If we could have like a speaker from each group, just share out some of the things that you experienced and then how that affected your mindset. I know we had an epic quote in our group.
Well, I'll just volunteer to share for our group, but we something that's new, the group that I talked to, they were from Tooele, and they're, trying a new summer program for one of the group homes that they serve. And I think that is a new experience for sure, and figuring all of those details out, which I hope to be part of.
And I'll share for our group. So we talked about a lot of different kind of experiences that we go through life. Sometimes there are ailments or things that we experience that could potentially hinder us from being what we once were. So just that fear and that experience of taking that leap of faith and moving forward really does open up opportunities for us to think differently and to try new and exciting things and to really push our minds and our bodies. And so, we talked about, exercising, and we talked about learning new skills and even becoming a check and connect mentor. Some of these things at first can be, something that we've never thought we'd ever do before or can do. But once we start moving towards that direction and taking that first step, it's incredible how we can push our minds and push our bodies to be able to accomplish these goals and these tasks.
In our group, a few of us had just started working full-time after not working, staying at home. And so that was a huge challenge, but it was good. It's good to figure out, like, doing a new thing helps you figure out your strengths and your weaknesses, things to work around. And anyway, it was good.
Yeah, I love that. And sometimes the things we learn they don't always have to be positive. Like sometimes you find out you're just not that great at something you just tried. So that's okay as well. Like, no big deal. Did you have something, Carolyn?
No,
Okay, no worries.
I did though. I did. My group talked about how we were doing challenging things, and what helped us get through it was the support of other people around us. That was pretty much all that we talked about. So, yeah.
Sweet. And that also like increases that relationship, like having that shared experience and supporting each other through something that develops that as well, which is another way that the adventure or exploration can impact students by carrying on that shared experience with them as well. All right.
Group,
go ahead.
Our group talked about, going into like child and family team meetings for the first time and not knowing exactly what to expect, and maybe not having all the materials we needed. And, that helps us to realize next time we'll be better prepared. We know what to take, we know what to do. It's a challenge to go into something new that you've never done before. And we also talked about going back to school as an older person and the challenges that brings when actually myself, I went back to school, and just in older age, going back to school was really difficult when you have a home and a family and a job and all these other things going on, but you realize you can do very difficult things and you can overcome those challenges, and it just makes you a stronger person. But that's what we discussed.
Yeah, I love that. Like that, going back to school for sure. It's definitely, you build skills, but it's an interpersonal experience as well. You're learning that you can continue to do those hard things, and especially working with kids, it puts you in their shoes. Now you're the student that has to go through those learning experiences. So I looked up a couple like good definitions for adventure, and I really like this one I found. It's on the right side of the screen. It uses adventure as a noun and a verb. And so adventure, when you're using it as a noun, is an event or experience that expands, shifts, or alters your perspective or perception of your inner self or your outer world. And then if you're using it as a verb or an action, to put yourself in situations to challenge and interfere, then to let go of trying to control the outcome and to wonder at what surprise may show up. And I connected with this just because as you go out on adventures or new experiences or new awkward situations, like you learn a lot about yourself and also about the world around you and other people. Sometimes people are really helpful, they're kind, they lend a helping hand. Sometimes they're not even present. And so that's a reality for our students as well that we mentor. And then as an action, letting go of the outcome and trying to find what surprises can show up. The more you're open to new experiences and sharing that, the more you find out about what you are capable of as well. And so kind of like my definition or like idea of what an adventure actually is, it provides growth, and it can be personal or physical. Sometimes you do get stronger based off of this experience. And sometimes it's strictly just a personal benefit that you're learning about yourself. And then it's also well planned out and thought out with specific goals and intentions. So if I was ever going to take a student group or even just a single student out, I want to plan that adventure out and I want to have specific goals. It doesn't mean they're always met, same as like setting up your classroom with your goals for the day or for the month. But if you don't have that direction of where you're going and where you're trying to lead somebody, then it can get out of hand pretty quickly. So making sure that you know exactly what you're looking for and planning out. And then it's also new or built upon. So it doesn't always have to be, we're going to go climb this new mountain, we're going to go do this. Sometimes the skill builds upon another skill that you developed so that you have a chance to practice that and then build and become stronger and take that skill a little bit further. So that, to me, that's what adventure is. I like these definitions as well. And then I also kind of wanted to talk about what adventure is not, especially when you're working with students and leading. So it's not reckless just to get a thrill. Like you're not going to just go hang gliding for the first time without any skills, because that will probably lead into a bad outcome. It's not outside of your ability to lead. So if you can lead the trip or the experience or even a science experiment or art project, then that's awesome. If not, then you need to find a professional that can help lead that has those skills and experiences. And sometimes it's nice because that allows you to then take part in the same experience with your student or mentor, or sorry, mentee. And you're going to now have a shared experience that you're both taking part in versus you always being the facilitator. It's not meant to scare somebody. So if your goal is to push somebody past their comfort zone, that's probably not going to be a successful adventure for you or that student, because they're going to have a lot of pushback and it's not forced on somebody. I like to practice what is called challenge by choice. And so that's where scaffolding the adventure comes in. If somebody's not comfortable with it, you can't force them to take part in it. Or if you're actually out on a physical adventure and there's a section where you do, once we get here, you do have to push through, or we have to turn back, letting them know those options ahead of time, that allows them to feel safer, and that helps build the relationship because now they're able to trust you with being open and honest as well. So these are the ideas of challenge. There's two different like comfort zones and then the flow state. So I'm first going to talk about the flow state graph. It's in the upper right-hand corner. And so you see it has anxiety, flow, and boredom. The flow state is where everything is kind of clicking and everybody is having a great time. And so basically you have challenge versus skill. So if you're doing anything that you have low skills, you don't know how to do it at all, but the risk is really, really high, then you're going to be pushing yourself or those students into like high anxiety. And so they're not going to be able to get any benefits out of this challenge because you've pushed them beyond what they're capable of. And then on the inverse, if they're really, really skilled at something and you're taking them out to do a very beginner task and there's really not a lot of challenge, then you're going to have very bored kids. So you want to find that equilibrium where they're being challenged, but their skills match, and that will also develop over time. The more, if you do an intro level thing and find out where they're at and then build upon it, you are allowing them to have a nice positive trajectory, and you're not going to have bored kids that are going to start acting out or looking for other alternatives, and you're also not going to have people that are at their threshold and super scared. And so taking that flow state and looking at how we build up a comfort zone, and so like increasing our skills and our challenges, we all start with a safe, comfortable zone. And then as you build up that challenge, we enter what is called the fear zone. And you'll notice this with kids. It even happens as you're teaching them and in classes, like they'll find excuses. They don't have the confidence for it. And they are also affected by others' opinions. Oh, this is scary. This is hard. We can't do this. So you kind of get in that negative mindset. If you scaffold those challenges so that they're able to build upon a skill, if you want them to climb a mountain, but they've never hiked, then probably even starting walking around a field and walking on a path and then going on a short hike at a nature center, you're now providing them a skill set so that you could go out and climb Ben Lomond or do a larger adventure, for example. So if you just immediately throw them into the hard task, they haven't had a chance to develop that, but then they're moving into the learning zone. When you give them that, then they can grow, and then you can look for the next step, and it actually will just reset again. So you have to go from the comfort zone to pushing them with a little fear and making it safe until they're actually able to learn again. So as you develop things, or if you're able to like take kids out and do these things, make sure you keep this in mind, that every kid's going to be in their comfort zone. How are you going to get them to safely move through their fear zone so they're learning and able to grow as well? Some of the benefits for having an adventure or exploration, it shows that you're stronger and more capable than you give yourself credit for. A lot of kids don't have the confidence because they aren't able to get out and have different experiences. They live in their own little bubbles. So giving them new experiences shows them that the world's a little bit larger than they think, and that allows them to learn that they're able to do hard things as well. It cultivates gratitude and compassion. Taking kids out and having experiences, they become grateful to you, they're more compassionate, they build up a sense of place, so they enjoy where they just went as well, and it kind of builds that connection. It helps to clarify what you truly value and want in life. It builds grit. It can make achievements even sweeter, especially if it was something that was harder to do and you had to work through it or even take it several attempts to make it happen. Then that makes that achievement even better. And then just personal growth. It builds perseverance. It focuses on success and failure, self-advocacy, letting people know when you don't feel comfortable with something. And then it also builds connection with whoever you've had that shared experience with. So some ideas as you look at adding adventure into building a relationship with a student. Adventure and challenge should be approached like any learning. Everybody starts at a different skill set, so you need to make accommodations, and you're making these to eliminate the barriers that student or mentee has, which allows them to feel safer. They start to trust you, and then that allows them to have growth. Challenge by choice allows someone to opt in or out to certain things and engage at their level. If you're forcing it upon them, they're going to be anxious, they're not going to trust you, and you're going to create an unsafe environment for everybody. And it's important to explain why things are sequential so that participants know if and when they are committed. So if you're working on a skill that builds up, letting them know that this is a prerequisite for the next thing helps them understand that they need to focus on gaining that skill before they move into something else. And then also listening builds trust. If you validate a mentee's concerns and you discuss it with them, you ask questions and allow them to help form solutions, they're going to learn to trust you more because you actually listened to them. You understood what they needed and you helped them find a way to overcome that barrier as well. And I see Julieta, I love that. Like taking your student to the playground can be an adventure because taking a student out of his routine for some minutes can clear his mind and restart their day. And I'm going to talk to that here in a second as well. But yeah, like if you don't have the option to go out on a trail or a nature center or do a field work, there are options right on the school campus that you can utilize to help build that adventure. Remember that failure is part of success. It's okay that you don't succeed as long as that failure is in a safe manner. So if failure would lead to injury, then you need to plan for that so that you don't have that. But not succeeding and then trying multiple times will improve that grit and resilience and make the success sweeter as long as you like achieve that. Again, obviously taking safety into consideration. And then sharing in the experience and being authentic will help to build the relationship and trust. Be open about feelings and your comfort level. Allow yourself to grow and learn also. If you act like you're the leader and you aren't really confident in that, students see it. If you're kind of BSing through, they know when you're not being authentic. So if you're open, I'm scared here, I'm very uncomfortable, especially if you're utilizing somebody else to help lead that trip, that allows them to express their emotions and be open as well. And you're again building trust. They're learning how maybe they need to support you and you're providing them that opportunity where they build their own leadership. And if you don't have to be the expert, but find somebody who is so that it's safer and you're sharing in those experiences too. All right, we're going to hop into breakout rooms one more time. And so this time I'd like you guys to discuss a time that you grew from a failure that you had. It can be outdoor, it can be work related, it can be anything. But how did this failure make you grow? And in what ways did it lead to a success? We're going to take 5 minutes again in the breakout groups, and then please nominate one person to speak for your group as well.
All right, those rooms should be open now. Hopefully you got the little pop-up menu. Hi, friend. I saw you were alone. Do you want me to move you into one of the active groups or are you good?
I'm okay. I'm happy to be alone for a minute.
I know, sometimes it's nice. Fair enough. Hey, while I have you,
yeah,
I know registration closed. I don't know if you'd had a chance. Did you get involved in the family engagement conference next Friday?
no, because I was told I don't get to attend.
Okay, fair enough. I just wanted to know if you were going to be there, because if you were, I was going to. You had hoped to.
But Liz said no, and she is the boss of me.
That's how it works. It is.
I know. So darn it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's new. it's new for USBE. It's new. So it's like she probably has never even heard of it herself. You know what I mean? But I've gotten more involved than I wanted to. So next year we'll probably be presenting together. Or else I'm going to be like sending you to present or something. They wanted us to do a whole panel this time. And I was like, I can't pull that together with a week's notice. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
It would have been great. Anyway, there's next time. So.
Oh, sorry. Are you feeling any better?
I am. I just sound terrible. This is a nasty virus thing that's been going around. We went down to Las Vegas with our youngest about 2.5 weeks ago and brought this back with us.
Oh, yay.
So, and then I have allergies. So honestly, who knows? It could just be my allergies.
Yeah. Allergies are a bummer. I've been on the allergy medicine. So
which one do you take?
I take actually Singular. It is I get too tired from everything else.
I will try it because that is my problem too. I'm gonna write that down because I had the last one I tried, the doctor when I was sick, he suggested that Flonase stuff.
That helps. I mean, isn't that help the nasal spray? It helps because it is like a steroid blocker.
So for me, it was too much. Like it dried me out so bad that I was in pain.
Okay.
So
Singular or the generic is Montelukast. And it's not an antihistamine.
Okay.
It's like a blocker kind of.
I think that's what I need.
Yeah. And it works better for me because if I take any antihistamine, even when they say, oh, this is the kind that doesn't make you tired or whatever,
you're gonna have a nap.
I'm out for a while. I'm a lightweight on those, at least.
I am too. I get it. So, or else I have a paradoxical reaction and then I'm so hyper that like I can't even breathe, you know.
Oh, right.
So.
And that happens to some people too. But I mean, my husband takes like half of one annual for every day, basically, of the year. I only have a few weeks or a month in the fall and in the spring that I have to worry about it.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Right
Same
now
scenario.
is that time. So
yeah, no, it's just that window for me. It's trees. So the trees pick on me, and then they, you know, right before the fall, they pick on us again.
I know. Yeah. So it's not. I just start taking it before a little bit because it takes about 3 to 5 days to kind of build up in your system.
Yeah.
And work as a kind of a blocker.
I will give it a try because I am at the point now where I'm tired of this.
Prescription, so you have to get a prescription for it.
And that's fine because I have to go see my doctor anyway.
Right.
The Now Care doctor gave me a scolding because I hadn't had a physical in a couple of years. So, all right. Well, let's go back and join the rest of the group.
All right.
All right. Please break up.
Am I muted or not?
No, not yet. All right, let me double check the room. All right, I think we are all back now.
Awesome. I really appreciated my group. We had some awesome conversation and just kind of talking about how failure is known as like the greatest contributor to success. If you actually take those risks and you don't succeed and you're able to focus on what you could have done better and reflect on it, that can lead to long-term success, and you don't really want to repeat that failure. Plus it allows students or mentees to see that you're able to have failure and succeed, and so they're able to safely do that as well. And I'd love to hear from some other groups as well, what you guys have discussed.
I can go first to get it over with, I guess. I shared how when I was 18, I ran my first marathon, and I was arrogant enough to think I didn't need to train super hard for it because I had been running cross country and track all through high school and stuff. Anyway, and then I was also arrogant enough to think that I could go out at a nice kind of a fast pace the first 20 miles. And so it went really well for the first 20 miles. Then I hit that wall, you know, a lot of runners hit around that time of a race, and I hit it hard, and it took me forever to finish the final 6.2 miles. And I learned I'm never going to do that again. So what I learned from it was I needed to train more, need to respect that process, and actually do a lot more training for a longer race like that. And then also listen and go out slow and, you know, take your time, especially on a marathon. And so I did have one of my best races on that same course, the Desert News Marathon, about 15 years later, because I went out with this mindset, I'm going to just go out slow, take it easy, especially during the first half of the race. And it ended up with a much better outcome. And it was actually fun because I wasn't suffering during that final 6.2 miles. Hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I'm glad that you chose to like keep doing the marathons instead of like, this was the worst idea ever, I'm done.
Yeah. I'm a slow learner. I've run about 37 and running again St. George this year. So
nice. Well, good luck. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll go next. Am I good?
Yep.
Okay. I would say, you know, like initially, I think I did a lot of talking because I hated that void, that silence. And I've learned to question better and to lead the conversation to where it really makes the kids think and really think about things rather than me doing a lot of the talking. And then it opens them up.
Yeah, silence can definitely be uncomfortable, and that void gets filled. And so, yeah, I love that. That's a great idea. And it's a great way to like allow them to feel like they need to say something, but then you can share in that and start bouncing ideas around. I love that. Do we have any other groups that wanted to share real quick? All right, I'll take the silence as let's move on. So now we're going to kind of talk about some different ideas. These are all ideas that I've used with students at schools. So the first section is looking for like what you can do in an actual school setting. I've worked with students that had zero like passion or drive to go outside, but they really loved science. And so I looked up different science experiments that I could do. And I mean, elephant toothpaste was a great example because I worked with younger kids. A lot of them had seen it. So when I decided to do these experiments, I didn't just bring in all the supplies for that student to just explode some elephant toothpaste and have a good time. I made him actually do the research. He had to look up videos of the elephant toothpaste and tell me which color he wanted to use the dye for. And then we went through the whole scientific method and actually had him do some research. This student wasn't actually participating in his science class because he thought it was boring because they didn't do experiments at the time. So we were able to take the whole learning process where they had to come up with a hypothesis. He had to like write down the materials and work through that. And then select the next experiment that he wanted to do as well. So it doesn't have to be, again, physical all the time, but coming up with something that's going to challenge that student. He did just want to like bring in the supplies. Let's get Mentos and Coke. Let's do this. But when I actually made him go through the method, he engaged in it more, which also helped him engage academically because he didn't feel like it was as boring and he could teach the kids since he'd had that opportunity to lead through the scientific method. Another thing I'd like to do with my classes is a phenology journal. And so a phenology journal is basically a journal that you take for seasonal observations. And you can do this at school or you can do it as a homework assignment. So they can pick just one specific place and they go to that place either daily or weekly. And they just observe for, it can be 10 minutes, it can be an hour, however long they want to. They can write, they can draw, they can do poetry. But basically you're just noticing how things change over time in that place. And you're developing that sense of place with that student. They start to look for more observations. They start to be more creative. Oh, I saw a bug and it climbed on my leg. I don't notice any bugs. It's fall time now. So it just allows them to build connection with somewhere specific, and then also to be creative. And you can make recommendations like this week in your journal. I don't want you to write. I want you to draw what you're seeing. This time, I want you to write all the emotions that you're feeling, or write down all the colors that you saw in that spot. And so then you can come back and you can share something about your spot that you're doing the same journal in. And so you're able to just tap into some different skills that other kids have. They're able to like write down or create a journal, and they don't necessarily have to be focused on their language art skills, even though they're developing those as well. So this is kind of tying back to like curriculum and learning, but also giving them their own avenue of expression. We've done like leaf presses, like gather a leaf, it's fall time, press it in there, like bring your leaf and we'll Mod Podge it into your book. So just different ways so that they have like something tangible that they've created over that time that they've been with you. And maybe the skill carries on later if they really enjoy it. Seasonal activities, like at various schools, everywhere, but a field of some sort. Some places even have natural spaces, gardens, but collecting or catching bugs, leaf picking, different challenge games outside. You can go just sledding with kids. So finding different activities that you can do seasonally keeps them engaged and gives them something to look forward to. Like, I know that as soon as it starts snowing, less kids are going outside, but providing them an opportunity, like, let's build a snowman, let's like make a whole leaf collection, let's go look for rocks. A lot of those things don't seem as meaningful, but then when you reflect back with your student about things that were impactful, hey, I don't know if you realize I was having a really bad day and we just went outside and like grabbed leaves and you didn't even talk to me. That was awesome. That's exactly what I needed, was just some silence and a way to like take my mind off of the day. So these provide opportunities. Sometimes they talk, sometimes they don't, and you don't have to force it, but looking for ways that they can connect with the outdoors, even if it's just walking around a field, is awesome. And then just sports. Like, there's so many kids that I've worked with that don't have access to being on organized sports, but they love being outside. They love being active. And so just going out and throwing a football, if you have lacrosse sticks, kicking a soccer ball, and providing them to talk with you. You can have questions prepared. You can naturally let a conversation flow. But these are just different avenues for kids to engage with you, have fun, and then also just open up and talk a little bit. I love art and doing like nature still lifes, paintings, photography. These are all things that you can do in school, and you can talk the entire time. Go pick a tree and everybody sketches the tree, whatever that looks like. National park virtual trips. There's a lot of them, especially since COVID, that came out. And so that allows students that don't necessarily leave communities to see what else is out there and what ideas they can have as they get older as well. And then there's just tons of ideas to create adventure for students, like low ropes course activities, flipping over a tarp as a team. There's endless opportunities to just create stuff and then ask students what they are into and look things up as well. That'll help you find different ideas and create stuff together. So this is just another photo of a group that I took out at Dinosaur. So going out and just hiking. It was a 2-mile hike. It was a flat, you can see the trail, but a lot of these kids, we were able to look for scat. Like, kids think poop is hilarious. So going out and just looking for scat, animal tracks, making up stories. The kids can be incredibly creative, thinking about like night sky observations and seeing if they can find the constellation and come and report back to you as well when they're out at night. So this one, we're not going to hop into breakout groups, but I just want to hear some ideas or some things that you actually have done where you've taken kids on field work or even just walked around the school. Like, what have you done in schools? And then how did you plan for it and guide towards those outcomes?
Well, I have been taking my students to the playground because some of them, they like to play basketball or anything, you know. I have been taking them to the gym too sometimes, so we can talk and we can play there. I believe that moving kids out of the routine sometimes is a very important sometimes, because they are pretty bored sometimes when you come. I'm talking about elementary kids, because usually middle and high school we cannot do that, you know. It's a short time that you need to be with them, so they can be at the classroom. But anyhow, my elementary kids, I do that, and they are pretty surprised when they see me playing basketball with them with my heels. You know, they are like, "Wow, you can do this!" Or run on the monkey bar with them and everything. And believe me, I dress professional almost every day, and they cannot believe that I can do this. And it's fun for them to see me, you know, be part of what they like to do, because I did it with my son. Why can I do for them, you know?
Yeah, you're not just that adult authority in a boxed in room talking to them about their grades, behavior, and attendance. You're now out there interacting with them, letting them play. And elementary kids, you can let them design an obstacle course on a playground that you have to follow. They think that's hilarious.
Yeah, and they talk a lot when you're outside, a lot more, you know, like they want to share what they are doing, what they are not doing. Even when I have a behavior situation with them at that day, it helped me to go and talk to them by themselves, and you know, connect with them, and get more out of them than anybody at the school sometimes, honestly.
For a lot of kids, it's just shocking that an adult will go and walk around outside with them versus talking to them in the counseling office or any classroom. It's off-putting almost, where now they're kind of like, what's happening? What are we doing? Like, just walking around with an adult outside is an adventure sometimes for that kid. It's a new experience.
We can do an adventure there, you know.
Awesome. Any other like ideas or how you plan to lead for outcomes?
I do something with some of my little kids. So I only get 15 minutes with each of them, and I'm trying to open their eyes to the opportunities out in the world and things that you never thought of. And I brought with me a whole box full of seashells I'd picked up off a beach in North Carolina. And there was a mystery in there. Most of these had a very symmetrical hole drilled in them. And I told them how I kept saying, "What does this?" And one of my kids said to me, "Well, Google it." And I thought, well, how do you Google that? And so I thought I was being funny. I said, "What kind of a animal drills a hole in shells on the East Coast?" And sure enough, I came up with this video. It actually showed the animal in action. It's called a moon snail. And I, the first couple of times I was showing them the shells, and the next time I came back, I actually had a video. I could say, "Look, I Googled it." And so I accomplished several things to say, if you don't know something, Google it, you know, ask somebody, and then follow through. And so I was showing the kids the video, and they went, "Oh my gosh, look at that." And then when I got through with the kids, the secretary in the other room came in. She says, "I want to see this video." Anyway, so it was an adventure for everybody. So sometimes you don't have to leave the building. Sometimes you have to bring things into the building for them. I couldn't take them to the beach, but I can bring the beach to them.
Yeah, I love that. Especially if we definitely don't have a coast, but you brought your own experience and something personal for you, and you were able to share that and then build on it as well. So yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the chat, but Stacy shared that you could plan a scavenger hunt and have a fun reward at the end, like a root beer float. And I'm loving that idea, Stacy. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it around the school or provide kids to like get examples outside and bring them back. Like, those are awesome ideas. And if you do it, let me come get a root beer float. That sounds great.
Something I do is I have just the Target Legos that are like the hashtag things, and I have 2 things of them, and I do one and they do one, and we try and guess what each other built. And then I take a picture of whatever they built and I add it to the email that I send to the caseworker and the parents, and show them the masterpiece that they made for that time that we do it. So they seem to like that, and sometimes they make some really interesting things.
Yeah, that's sweet. It just gives them ownership and highlights like cool skills that they have, makes them feel success. That's awesome. All right. For the sake of time, I'm going to keep moving on. If you guys have stuff to share at the end, we can like pop stuff in the chat as well. So these are some different like out of school ideas. If this is an option for you, if you can talk with a supervisor, get permissions, but different field works, looking for a purpose and a desired outcome, going to the zoo, and like if a kid's never been, they get to see animals or the aquarium, or even going to Thanksgiving Point or a tree nursery, having real world encounters. So if you can take a kid to an animal shelter, if they have a job interest, since if it's especially like a high school mentee, taking them to an auto shop and letting them ask some questions, and going to a college or like a trade school, giving them opportunities to see what the next steps in their life could be, and then also kind of inspiring them to see how they're able to get that, and talking to the people that actually do it. Doing service projects, so either like tutoring, volunteering at the school, creating like meaningful work projects, trail work projects, signage at different areas, definitely touring like colleges and trade schools. You can partner with a lot of university programs, and they have cross-country skis and snowshoes for like winter activities, and a lot of nature centers have those as well. Snowshoeing doesn't always seem like the biggest adventure until you actually put them on your feet and you can't walk at all, and kids think that's hilarious. They have a blast doing it, falling all over, especially kids who don't get out in the wintertime. Building forts. And even if it's on a small scale, bring in some popsicle sticks and allow them to design like a fort and build old school dioramas. You don't see those as often. So that's just another tangible thing that they can bring back. Identifying wild plants and edibles that might be able to, you could make your own meal, especially if you have a garden. And then also just full on gardening, let kids get their hands in the dirt, digging around. So those are different outside of school opportunities, and you can provide them seeds. See if somebody will donate that and start sprouting them at school, and allow them to take them home and see if they can plant them somewhere at their house. Going out skiing, that's like my passion. So bringing a bunch of kids out is always fun. And then different ideas during the summer, if you do have an opportunity to work with kids over that time period, but going out hiking, going to nature centers, identifying trees and other plants, birding, which is a blast. Like get some binoculars and go out and try to identify as many birds as you can. Different types of biking, if those are options around. There's tons of rail to trails, especially from like Ogden down to Salt Lake. There's a whole trail you could ride that entire way. Going skateboarding, listening to music, or going to a concert, zoos, aquariums, historical sites, frisbee golf, if you can go to state parks. These are all just different options. We've utilized a lot of these throughout the summer when we work with different youth programs, and we bring them to other spots as well. And then just some like highlights of goofy kids doing what they do that we've taken out. So it's always fun. The bottom is frisbee golf. I think we lost every single disc on that one. So don't rent them, because you'll end up having to buy them. Find a way to get your own. Kids aren't that accurate with frisbees, apparently. And then different ideas to reach out for organizations. So university programs provide rentals. They have cheaper lessons and guided services, because a lot of their kids are going through programs. So they're not fully like licensed, but they're overseen by somebody who is. So that provides them an opportunity. Different climbing walls are at universities as well. The Front is another cool organization that will work with kids. Ski schools. So we've reached out to ski schools before, and especially the beginning of the season when they're training new instructors, a lot of times they'll provide free opportunities for kids so that those instructors can get the experience of actually working with kids. So if you reach out and explain who you are and why you want to do this, they'll typically find a way to help lower the cost or do it totally for free. And then nature centers do have a lot of those resources as well, like snowshoes, binoculars, identification kits. And so those are just different areas and places that will help you plan or facilitate an adventure as well. And then as you're looking to partner, finding ways to do things that are like low cost is huge, especially in education when we don't always have funding. But again, if you ask for assistance and you explain what you're doing, that will help. If you offer to do a service project. So we went with an organization and we videoed the entire experience and we made a commercial for them. We had a group that was able to edit it for us for free as well. And so they let us come back 5 years in a row for free because we created a video that they then used to highlight their services. So if you offer to provide a service instead of like, hey, I'm a mentor, I just want something free, a lot of organizations are more inclined to help out and provide those opportunities as well. So don't be afraid to ask. The worst they can say is no, but then also like offer them that opportunity to provide assistance in whatever way they can, especially if it's a smaller business. They might not be able to do free for cost things, but if you ask and partner, then a lot of people will definitely find ways to help kids get outside, and especially mentors that are bringing them as well. All right, so this is kind of the end. Does anybody have any questions, comments, ideas? Sweet. Well, I appreciate you guys' time. Hopefully even if you don't get to work with kids this summer, get out and have your own adventure, push yourselves a little bit, find out some things about yourself. If you do have questions, my email is here. Feel free to reach out. If you have an idea, if you want recommendations, I'm here. So definitely reach out if you have anything. And thank you all.
Thank you, Garrett. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate everybody attending today. We went the full 2 hours. It was jam-packed with information. I hope you guys came away with some new ideas. I know I did. This has been a great day, and I hope you all are enjoying the sunshine, and we'll see you again relatively soon. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks. So long, everyone.